pair of slitted eyes pierces through the thick, choking smoke, and with a ferocious roar, the Balrog rears its head above the billowing flames, its enormous wings fanning the fire even hotter. An inferno burns from the core of its scaly, blackened body, and large horns curl down near its face. The Balrog draws its sword, the enormous column of fire causing the air to ripple with heat, and it cracks its whip, sending a deafening crash echoing through the caverns of Moria. Although Peter Jackson's interpretation of the Balrog has quite a formidable presence on screen, it is certainly not how Tolkien imagined them. The debate over the appearance of Balrogs has been going strong amongst Tolkien fans for years. So what do Balrogs really look like, and how did Jackson's Balrog end up with wings? Let's dive into the answer to these questions and discover the true nature of Tolkien's Balrogs. Tolkien's Balrogs, also called Valarokar, were corrupted Maiar, allies of Melkor who had given themselves up to darkness and allowed their divine powers to be used for evil. In the days before the birth of Arda, they, along with many other Maiar, were drawn to Melkor's might, mesmerized by he who was strongest among the Valar. When it came time for the music of the Ainur, when all of Eru Ilúvatar's divine beings sang together and shaped Arda with their melodious harmony, Melkor rebelled. He was driven by an intense yearning for knowledge, a deep desire to bring his strange and chaotic thoughts to life and create beings of his own against Ilúvatar's will. As he introduced discord into the harmony of the great music, his followers joined him, and together they helped spread chaos across the newborn Arda. Some of these Maiar took the form of demons of smoke and fire, becoming the Balrogs, and for millennia they served Melkor with the utmost faithfulness, slaying thousands of their master's enemies and obeying him without question. After the conclusion of the War of Wrath, the Balrogs who survived hid themselves deep underground, at the very roots of the earth where none could find them. Since then, only one Balrog has been seen, Durin's Bane, which made its home in the caverns of Moria, terrorizing the dwarves of Khazad-dûm, and later, the Fellowship of the Ring. As seen in Jackson's films, Durin's Bane is an enormous, inhuman monster, but Tolkien's Balrog appeared in the form of a man and was only about twice the height of one. A creature with a heart of fire, it was perpetually cloaked in heavy smoke and shadow, and its mysterious, ancient presence sparked terror in all who laid eyes upon it. Like the film version, it carried a flaming sword and fiery whip, but the similarities end there. Peter Jackson's version of the Balrog is much more animalistic, with its goat-like horns, razor-sharp fangs, and, of course, its massive black wings, which are at the center of this debate over the Balrog's appearance. In The Bridge of Khazad-dûm, the 5th chapter of The Fellowship of the Ring, Tolkien says that the shadows surrounding Durin's Bane reached out like two vast wings. A little later in the chapter, Tolkien expands upon this by writing that the Balrog drew itself up to a great height, and its wings were spread from wall to wall. Although the imagery of the first quote clearly utilizes a simile, comparing the dancing shadows on the wall to the stretching of wings, the second quote is often interpreted to mean that the Balrog had actual wings. This is the main source of the confusion that led not only Peter Jackson, but other filmmakers and artists to depict Balrogs as winged creatures. However, these are not the only quotes from Tolkien's writing that suggest that Balrogs have wings. In Morgoth's Ring, the 10th volume of Christopher Tolkien's 12-volume series of analysis of his father's unpublished manuscripts, it is written of the Balrogs and their rush to save their master from the wrath of Ungoliant. Swiftly they arose, and they passed with winged speed over Hithlum, and they came to Lambeth as a tempest of fire. And in Appendix A of the Appendices, at the end of The Return of the King, Tolkien describes how Durin's Bane was awoken in the mines of Moria and attacked the dwarves, saying, "Thus they roused from sleep a thing of terror that, flying from Thangorodrim, had lain hidden at the foundations of the earth since the coming of the host of the West, a Balrog of Morgoth." Both of these scenes seem to suggest that the Balrogs used their large wings to fly, traveling long distances at great speeds. Although these quotes are treated as solid evidence that Balrogs did in fact have wings, many Tolkien fans argue that this interpretation lacks nuance and overlooks the metaphorical nature of Tolkien's physical descriptions. Since his first reference to the Balrog's wings merely compared its shadows to wings, any subsequent references would still operate within this metaphor, even though later in the chapter, he seems to refer to literal wings. Similarly, phrases like winged speed and flying from Thangorodrim are simply used to mean that the Balrogs moved as fast as would a being that had wings, since neither of the quotes ever explicitly refer to the presence of physical wings. Perhaps they simply sprinted across the land faster than any human could. Or maybe they were able to melt into and out of the shadows around them at will, using this ability as a way to teleport from place to place. We will never know for sure what Tolkien envisioned, but it is agreed upon by many that wings were definitely not involved. Despite this misinterpretation of Tolkien's writing, Peter Jackson's depiction of Durin's Bane is still very effective for its purpose. The true terror of Tolkien's Balrog was best communicated through the written word, but for a blockbuster film, this kind of enemy simply wasn't big enough to have much presence on screen. So, Jackson's decision to bulk up the Balrog's body and increase its height by hundreds of feet may actually have been a good choice cinematically, giving the Fellowship a suitably fearsome foe to face and making Gandalf's death in battle all the more emotionally powerful. Additionally, the design of Jackson's Balrog was also advantageous in its familiarity. The film version of Durin's Bane bears many similarities to Christian demons. Not only are they closely related to fire, being from hell, but they are also usually depicted as animal-like, with unnatural skin colors, inhuman eyes, horns, and wings. The Balrog's similarity to this common trope created a recognizable image for viewers, informing how they viewed this new monster by recalling feelings associated with one they were already familiar with. We might also consider the theory that not all Balrogs look the same. In Tolkien's writing, only Durin's Bane is described as a shadowy, humanoid figure, and the other Balrogs are not given any physical description at all. It has been widely assumed that all Balrogs were alike. But the Balrogs were Maiar, and Maiar chose to take all sorts of different forms based on their abilities or whether they allied themselves to good or evil. It may have been possible that some Balrogs were, in fact, winged beasts like Jackson's Balrog, and others aligned more with Tolkien's vision. There is plenty of mystery in the stories of Morgoth's ancient servants. Much like the nameless things, the true nature of Balrogs may be something that fans just have to accept as an eternal unknown. And this unknown is part of what makes these monsters so terrifying, and what makes the lore of Tolkien so intriguing. Ultimately, although Peter Jackson's rendering of Durin's Bane is not accurate to how Tolkien envisioned it, both versions have their strengths. Some people prefer to remain faithful to the original Balrog of the books, while others appreciate the epic proportions of the film version, but each has value, standing out in its own unique way. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into all things Tolkien, epic stories, amazing characters, and fascinating debates like the one we just covered. And let us know in the comments, which version of the Balrog do you like better?